Hello everyone and welcome back to the Football Chuggu Podcast. My name is Thomas Durning and today I'm joined by my co-host Pearse McLaughlin. Hello Pearse.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing well. On today's podcast, which will be a very short one, we'll be talking about a couple of managerial appointments in Europe. We'll briefly discuss the latest transfer gossip now that the summer window is open. And at the end of the podcast, Pearse will be giving a rundown of all the latest Asian football news. So we'll start off with the managerial appointments. So we'll talk about the Italy's men's national football team. So we found out last week that Luciano Spalletti had left Italy. So he left his role as Italy manager. So after a couple of days, it was announced that Gennaro Gattuso, the former Italy midfielder, most notably played for AC Milan, had been appointed as the new Italy men's manager. So he signed a one-year deal with the option of continuing for another year after. So it'll probably just be up to the World Cup, and then they'll see what happens after that. So, Pearse, Gennaro Gattuso, Italy's new manager. What's your thoughts?
It's kind of one of those ones. It's kind of like he's kind of. I know he's a new manager, but he's kind of like, for example, for me, he's like a caretaker manager. I don't think he gets it on merit. I think he just gets it because of what he was as a player. Similar to like, example, like Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, in terms of their player pedigree more than the managerial expertise. Because obviously, I'm pretty sure Gattuso has managed that many clubs and bounced from club to club. I remember when he had a spell at Valencia, spell at AC Milan, Napoli. He's had spells over in Switzerland with FCC on. He's been all over the gaff. But I think Spalletti had a really poor run of form with Italy, and they're on the verge of potentially not qualifying for a third World Cup in a row. So I don't think the Italian Federation could have took that risk. And I think, as you know, we get to his demands are really, really high in terms of what he was as a player. He was that feisty character, and maybe he'll get the players a kick up the backside they needed. And you see what happened to Rangers this season when they appointed like Barry Ferguson, a short-term deal. It gets that initial spark until they get obviously a permanent manager. That's probably why he's only got given the one-year deal. But for me, not surprising that they've appointed an Italian manager in Gattuso, but surprising that he's got the job because based on his past managerial experiences. Because for me, the Italian job is like the top job for any Italian aspiring coach, and I feel as if it's given to him rather than warranted.
Yeah. My thoughts are on the appointment. I think it's an appointment for the team to kind of get a kick up the backside, basically, because they're actually, I don't know if you saw the table for the World Cup, but they're actually in a bit of trouble. They're quite a lot of points off Norway, who are at the top. And yeah, it looks like they're going to be in a struggle again to get qualification for the World Cup. And I think they can't afford. I mean, it's mad that they haven't been to the World Cup since 2010. And I don't know if you remember that World Cup, but they were terrible in that World Cup as well. They get put out in the group stages. So I don't know what's happened to it. Ever since they've won the World Cup in 2006, they've been terrible. Like, I don't know what's happened to them. Like, they're not qualifying and they're not making any real impact. But then you look at them in the Euros, they're getting to finals. They've won it.
Opposite, aye.
They won it a few years ago. So I don't know what the problem is with the World Cup.
Well, you remember as well, 2012, they got to the Euro final, get beat by Spain. Then obviously the COVID Euros, the delayed one, 2020, they won it.
They were brilliant in that tournament. They had like the likes of Insigne and Chiesa and players like that. They were really good in that tournament. But at the World Cup, they just seemed to be struggling. Mancini, he couldn't get them to the World Cup. Spalletti, I was quite surprised. I thought, because Spalletti's a good manager. You know, he did well with the likes of Napoli winning the title there. But it just didn't work for him at Italy. They just never got going with him in charge. So they've turned to Gattuso. he is very much a manager who demands hard work, demands respect. You know, you'll probably see his teams being a lot more, you know, feistier. You know, a lot more, a little bit more. What's the word?
Pragmatic.
A little bit more. A little bit more fighting them as well. Like a little bit dirty, I'd say, because I think they are quite easy to play against. I mean, they played Norway a couple of weeks ago and they were comfortably beaten. I think it was 3-0.
Yeah,
To
could
be
have been
honest about
5 or 6.
I mean, they were comfortably beaten that day, so they look like they've got a bit of a soft touch about them. So Gattuso will definitely try and get that out. But his managerial record isn't great, to be fair. He's not really, as you said, he's jumped around from job to job. He's not really done a lot in terms of success. But he's experienced. He's won the World Cup with Italy, so he knows what it takes to be successful. And yep, he's in for a tough job because at the moment they look doubtful as to get into the World Cup because they've got off to a slow start and they're in quite a tough group. So, yep, so that's Gennaro Gattuso appointed Italy men's manager. And then the other managerial news, I mean, we've got Motherwell. I can't believe we're talking about Italy and then we're moving on to Motherwell. It's a bit mad. But so Motherwell, they've announced their new manager as well, and it's a guy that I've never heard of. So he's a Danish football manager called Jens Berthel Askou. So Jens Berthel Askou is a Danish manager. He's managed the likes of Horsens and Gothenburg. So Gothenburg are in Sweden, and Horsens are from Denmark. He was just previously there. His last job just there was the assistant at Copenhagen. So Copenhagen, kind of a big club in Denmark as well. But he's managed to get the job at Motherwell. So Pearse, just before I ask you, Pearse, he does have a little bit in his playing career. He does have a little bit of experience in British football. He played for Norwich for a couple of years. Wasn't really successful there, but so he doesn't really know. He does know. He probably know a little bit about British football. But what's your thoughts on the manager's appointment?
Well, for me, that's the first time I've heard of this news about Motherwell appointing a new manager. So I can't really delve into too much detail on it. But I think it's just obviously good in terms of Motherwell appointing a new manager. Considering they were without a manager after having left them for I think it was the second or third German tier scene. Was it Wimmer? So
Yeah,
so they needed someone in the building because obviously, as we know, the season just finished a couple of weeks ago, but it's not long until pre-season starts, and then obviously Motherwell will definitely be in the League Cup group stages. So in terms of there's always a short turnaround in the season, so you need your new manager in, and then obviously get some recruitment and try to keep hold of your best players. Most obviously Lennon Miller, but I'm assuming he'll probably be sold this summer with a year left. But in terms of the manager, obviously Copenhagen, he's been at a top club in Copenhagen. I've been to the city myself, been to the stadium, phenomenal club. And obviously they're a club built on rich history of winning trophies and competing. But obviously it was assistant, so like you said, but getting a job like Motherwell's a big job in Scotland. And obviously his aim will try to get top 6 and potentially Europe this season. But it remains to be seen. I don't know anything about him really playing or managerial career, but it remains to be seen. Another exciting appointment for Scottish football.
Yep, it definitely is very mental. A name no one's ever heard of. You know, it's quite Motherwell are quite known for that. They're quite different in the way they work. I mean, Michael Wimmer, don't think anyone had really heard of him as well. So they are quite you know, unpredictable Motherwell. Just before I talk about this guy, I will be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed because you've got Scottish football managers, like young Scottish football managers, trying to make their way in the game, and you know they're not getting their chances. And you're seeing a lot of sort of foreign managers coming in and getting the jobs ahead of them. So you've got the likes of Scott Brown, who's a manager at the moment. You've got other managers that are out of work. Scottish managers I'm talking about, and I'd like to see them maybe getting more of a chance because I mean, obviously me and you're Scottish. We want to see as many kind of Scottish managers developing and going far in the game, because that bodes well for the future as well. But that's a totally different sort of discussion. But in terms of Asco, yeah, it's definitely a very left field appointment. The chairman of Motherwell talked about it. He said that they were drawn to him because of his track record at working with big clubs and developing young players and delivering success. They said that he's handed 26 teenagers debuts in 5.5 seasons, which again they were drawn to. So I think that's the reason I think why they've appointed him, because Motherwell, as we know, they like to produce their own players, young players, and I think this Asco, I think he'll definitely follow that model. Like Lennon Miller, for example, who came through the academy, and I think Motherwell want to keep that going. So I think that's why they've chosen him. Will it work out? I've no idea. Again, I think it's going to be one of these appointments where it could go very, very well, or it could go disastrously wrong. I don't think there's anything in between there. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how Motherwell get on next season. But yeah, Jean's Berthel Askou is a new manager of Motherwell, and we'll see how he gets on when the season kicks off. So that's managerial news kind of sorted. So we'll just kind of move on to the transfer news. So obviously, summer window is open. Well, it's not. It's closed at the moment. It was open for a period, and then it's closed again. But obviously, clubs are looking to do business early. We're still very early in the window, but there has been some movement. We've talked about a few things. Kevin De Bruyne has been officially confirmed as a new Napoli player after he left Manchester City after 10 years. So Kevin De Bruyne to Napoli, Pearse, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think if in terms of if you're Napoli, it's phenomenal because you've just won the Scudetto. With that midfield, it was McTominay, Gilmore, Zambo Anguissa, Lobotka. And now you're adding Kevin De Bruyne into the mix, a serial winner, a world-class player. He'd obviously injuries at the start of the last season there. But towards the end of the season, you can see he found his kind of groove again. He may not have the legs he once had in terms of intensity, but as we know in Italian football, it's not as intense in terms of running power. It's more a technical league, and I think De Bruyne could walk into most teams around Europe. You could find a system and a way to fit him into the team because his pass range, his vision, he's shooting on both feet, his skill, and he's just his footballing brain sets him apart from the rest. And I think he'll be vital. And for me, he could be the missing piece in the jigsaw that makes Napoli retain their title next season. For me, I think phenomenal signing, especially a free transfer as well. So I think it's a no-brainer. And obviously, De Bruyne will get to experience another league because obviously he's played in England, played in Germany, and now he's going to play in another top five league in terms of Italy. And I think he'll slot in well. And I think Conte will find the best system to fit him into, and I think he will be a driving force in that Napoli side. And for me, I think they could potentially win the Scudetto 2 years in a row for the first time in the history.
Yep, I definitely could see that happening. It's a very good. I think it's a very good signing for Napoli. It'll be interesting to see how De Bruyne works with Antonio Conte. I know Antonio Conte is not really known for that sort of Pep Guardiola style of football, which Kevin De Bruyne is so suited to. So it's going to be interesting to see how De Bruyne fits into Conte's system. So that'll be an interesting partnership. I think for Napoli, it's a brilliant signing because you're getting a player who is widely regarded as one of the best midfielders of all time. Widely regarded as one of the best player ever to play in the Premier League. Definitely Manchester City's best ever player. Back in his prime, he was unbelievable. He really was. Obviously, he's slowed down a bit now. He's not as as mobile and as fast as it used to be. But I think the Serie A may suit him because, as we know, it's a slower league than the Premier League. It's not as intense, so maybe that might suit him. That kind of style of football. And he's going to go into a midfield, which is a really good midfield for Napoli. Like I said, we all know the two Scottish players, Gilmore and McTominay, Zambon and Lobotka as well. So some really good midfielders in there. So it's a really good midfield that for Napoli. And as you said, if Napoli if they're intending on keeping the title, then I think adding players like De Bruyne is really important because obviously he has experience of, well, he's won it all really. Yeah, Kevin De Bruyne to Napoli. Looking forward to see how that's going to go. Yeah, that one's confirmed. Apart from that, not a lot else. We don't really like talking about rumours because it's not really confirmed. We only really like talk about things that are confirmed. I just want to lastly just say this is a rumour, but it's quite interesting to see. I don't even heard Pearse, Scotland captain Andy Robertson.
That, yeah.
That's an interesting one because he's getting linked heavily with Atletico Madrid.
Madrid, yeah.
Simeone really likes him.
I think that story has got links, to be honest.
Yeah, if it was me, if I'm Andy Robertson, I think basically he's on holiday at the moment, and I think the chat is that he's going to think about it over the holiday, whether he'll stay at Liverpool or if he's going to go to Atletico Madrid. If I'm him, obviously I'm not, I would go. Because I just think I just think it's a brilliant opportunity for him. Because I don't really know what else he's got to do at Liverpool. He's kind of won it all, and I'm seeing a lot of. It looks like, again, not confirmed, but it looks like Milos Kerkez from Bournemouth is going to be a new Liverpool player anyway. So he's going to be struggling to get into that team now, with that competition. So for me, I would go. Don't know about you.
Oh, let's be honest, right? He's the wrong side of 30 now. He's not the player he once was. Still a very good player. Scotland captain. Like you say, he's won the lot with Liverpool. He's been there for a very long time. And I think when Diego Simeone comes calling, I think you kind of have to go because look what happened to Kieran Trippier when he went.
Yep.
Because let's be honest, like you're going to work under probably one of the best coaches in the world of football, tactically. And you're going to learn a new style of play. So defensively, and like you say, we all know Andy Robertson's attributes in terms of he's good with his final ball, he's aggressive, he's got an engine. So
That's the kind of player Simeone likes.
Yeah, that's the type. Look at Conor Gallagher, right? You never imagine he'd go to Atletico Madrid, right? But he's playing for Chelsea. But the fact is they sell him because he's PSR real homegrown player, basically counts as double. And he's just fit in seamlessly. And then you've had Tierney play with Sociedad in La Liga. He'll obviously tell him about the culture, the league, the standard. And I think he'll obviously talk to me with Trippier as well in terms of his experiences working under Simeone. So I think a lot of British-based players are out now going over to different leagues like Italy and obviously La Liga a lot more than previous years because obviously Beckham was like this kind of like this catalyst for it all in the modern era. So like you see, obviously Jude Bellingham's there as well. So no, I think this one would fit perfectly, and I think this one makes sense for all parties. I think Robertson won't be first choice left back next season. I think if he goes to Atletico, he will be, and he'll be playing in Champions League, and he'll competing for the league title and all the domestic trophies in La Liga because Atletico Madrid have got a very good squad. But like you say, they're competing against a very strong Barcelona and Real Madrid. So I think he can only enhance his experiences in life and his ability as a footballer.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, I think it makes perfect sense for him. He just looks like a player that Simeone would love to have. That kind of sort of athletic, stamina. Can get up and down the pitch still. Like I know he's not as fast as he was, but like he can still do it. He was a really big player for Liverpool last season. He played the majority of the games, and okay, he made a few mistakes last season, but I still think he did well. His position at Liverpool's under threat now with the likes of Kerkez coming to Liverpool, and at Atletico is going to go into that team because they're really needing a left back. I think they've got the guy Galan. He's not really up to the standard, I think. So he definitely would get into that team, but we'll see what happens. It's not confirmed yet. It's just rumours. I mean, it does look like it's a serious thing, but I just wanted to mention that because it's quite an interesting one. So yeah, that's all the transfer news sorted. And for the final part of the show, Pearson will give his Asian football roundup.
Yeah, so with the return of obviously domestic football in Korea and Japan after the international break. So we start with some K League One action. So Friday the 13th of June, Gangwon FC 0, Jeonbuk Motors FC 3, Gwangju FC 1, FC Seoul 3. There was 3 matches on Saturday. That was Gimcheong Sangwoo 1, Pohang Steelers 0, Jeju SK 2, Daegu FC 1, Seoul FC 1, FC Anyang 2. So top of the table, we've got Jeonbuk 6 points clear, and they're looking very much like title favourites and looking to win their first title in a number of years after a couple of really disappointing campaigns. And obviously Gus Poyet's side is looking very strong. So we've got a 6 point lead over Daejeon Citizen, who sits second on 32 points. Third is the last 2 season champions in Ulsan HD, who are well off the pace in 29 points. And then just inside the top 3 places, we've got 2 sides joint on 28 points, and that's Gimcheong Sanmu and Pohang Steelers, and they're separated by just 5 points in goal difference. And the bottom of the table, with Daegu FC, rock bottom, 18 matches played, 12 points. 11th, we've got Seoul FC on 16 points. The two of them are caught adrift quite a bit, so we need to pick up points really soon, or they'll be in threat of getting automatic relegation this season. And in 10th position, we've got Gangwon FC on 21 points. And just beside the relegation places, we've got Jeju SK in 9th position on 22 points. And we've got some matches on Tuesday, the 17th of June, which was played a bit earlier today. And that was Daegu versus Pohang Steelers, FC Seoul versus Gangwon FC, Jeonbuk Motors versus Suwon FC, and then tomorrow, Wednesday, 18th of June, we've got Daejeon Citizen versus Gimcheong Sangmu, and Jeju SK versus Gwangju FC. So in terms of other Asian football news, we've got J League One action, and there was matches played on Saturday, the 14th of June, and that was Shonan Bellmare 1, SC Machida Zelvia 2, Cashew Antlers 1, Sanfrecce Hiroshima 1, Yokohama FC 0, Kawasaki Frontale 1, FC Tokyo 2, Seijo Osaka 2. Sunday, the 15th of June, was Alvarez Niigata 1, Yokohama F Mariners 0, Fagiano Okayama FC 0, Visva Fukuoka 1, Tokyo Verde 0, Kashiri Reysol 3, Vissel Kobe 2, Lugo Grampus 1, Shimizu S Pulse 0, Gambo Osaka 0. So that's leaving the table looking like this. So top of the table, Cash Antlers, 20 matches played, 41 points. Second with Cash Reysol on 37 points. And they make the final top 3 places is Kyoto Sanga FC on 34 points. And 4th, 5th, and 6th, just outside the top 3, we've got Urarai Diamonds in 4th on 34 points. And then Sanfrecce Hiroshima and Vissel Kobe joint on 33 points, having played 2 games less than Urawa Red Diamonds. In the bottom half of the table, we've got Yokohama F Mariners, rock bottom. Their poor season continues. And then they've got their Yokohama counterparts just a place above them, with 5 points better off on 19 points. And then Alberts Niigata, final relegation playoff place, is on 19 points too. And in 17th position, just outside the relegation place, we get FC Tokyo on 20 points. In terms of other Asian football news, it's been confirmed that Team K-League will play at Newcastle United as part of the Kupang Play series. The match will be held at the Suwon World Cup Stadium on Wednesday, 30th of July, with an 8 p.m. kickoff. That's Korean Southern Time. And you can pre-order tickets from the 25th of June, and the rest will go on general sale on Friday, the 27th of June. So the K-League has fined Gwangju FC 10 million Korean won for violating financial regulations and imposed a 1-year transfer ban, suspended for 3 years. The KFA will have announced that South Korea will play a home match friendly against Paraguay on Tuesday, October the 14th. And that is all your latest Asian football news.
Thank you, Pearse, and thank you everyone for listening to this episode of the Football Chuggu Podcast. This podcast will be available to listen to on the Football Chuggu YouTube channel and also the Football Chuggu website. Thanks for listening and see you soon.
Bye-bye.